It was American businessman and developer of an online resume site, Lee Mark, who said, "In today's competitive job market, it's important to realize that finding a job is in itself a full-time job." In this lesson, we're going to compute periodic salary based on annual contract salary. We're going to interpret the abbreviations in classified ads, and we will express classified ad prices as piecewise functions. All to answer the question, how do people in different stages of their career find employment? Before we get into it, let's make sure we're ready for this lesson by looking at warm-up number 2. We're going to find each x for the value of f of x. Now, this is a piecewise function, which means there is a condition. Looking at when x is equal to 2. 2 is less than 3, so we will use the top equation and say 2 times 4 is 8, minus 7 is 1. When x is equal to 3, when x is equal to or greater than 3, we're going to use this second equation of x squared plus 2x. Since x is 3, 3 squared is 9, plus 2 times 3, which is 6, and 9 plus 6 is 15. And when x is 4. When x is 4, that is greater than 3, which means we're going to use the second equation. So 4 squared is 16, plus 2 times 4, which is 8. 16 plus 8 is 24. Now, let's take a look at a problem that you will be able to do by the end of this lesson. Jane's printing service charges $29.95 to print 200 high-quality business cards. Each additional set of 100 cards costs $14. Express the cost R of x of printing x sets of 100 cards as a piecewise function. The printing service charges for multiples of 100 cards only. If you think of a set of 100 copies, then 200 copies represents 2 sets. So R of x would be equal to $29.95. Since it's this way for the first 2, we're going to say when x is less than or equal to 2. Now, if you wanted to get 150 cards, you're still going to pay for that full 2. Then, if you wanted more than 2 sets, you would pay $29.95 plus $14 for each set x minus the original 2. And this is going to happen whenever x is greater than 2. And now we have our piecewise function. Many students take an after-school and summer jobs. Sometimes these are not related to their eventual career choices. They are ways to make income to meet their expenses of being a teenager. Many students find out about these jobs by signs in store windows, the school guidance department, online postings, and word of mouth. When choosing a career, you usually choose a field of interest. You then need to develop the skills in that area. Your career will be based on the training you receive in college, trade school, or on the job as an apprentice. All electricians, lawyers, teachers, plumbers, actors, doctors, dentists, and so on had to learn their trade before practicing it. How do you go about looking for employment in your field? You look at ads on an online job and company site. You connect with networking groups in your field, and again, word of mouth. There are many internet employment sites available to job seekers. These ads cover all types of employment, from summer jobs for teenagers to careers in all fields. You will find it helpful to learn the special shorthand that is used in employment ads. There are many abbreviations that are special for individual fields. Some commonly used abbreviations are going to be shown on the screen here. You can also look for work through an employment agency. An employment agency or recruitment agency is a business that has a list of job openings. Some employment agencies specialize in certain fields of work. If you are placed in a job by an employment agency, there is a fee. When the employer is willing to pay the fee, the job is listed as employer-paid or fee-paid. If the employee is required to pay the fee, the job is listed as applicant-paid. When you decide to apply for a specific job, you will have to send your resume to the employer. A resume is a short account of your education and qualifications for employment. Most employers only want resumes submitted electronically online. If an employer is impressed with your resume, you will be invited to an interview and you might be hired. Once you are hired, you will need to fill out numerous forms, including a Form W-4, an Employee's Withholding Allowance Certificate. This form is used by employers for income tax purposes. The form helps your employer determine how much to deduct for taxes on your paycheck. As you embark on your job search, salary isn't your only consideration. Among other factors is your need to consider benefits, additional compensation from your employer. Benefits can include health and dental insurance, child care, retirement, and travel expenses. The cost of some of these benefits are sometimes shared with the employee. Now we're going to learn about interpreting employment ads, computing salaries, and employment agency fees. So let's compute periodic salaries based on an annual constant salary. Julianne found a job posting on an internet website. The job pays a yearly salary of $41,000. What is the weekly salary based on this annual salary? So Julian must interpret 41,000. The K stands for thousands. Julian multiplies to compute the annual salary. Since the annual salary is $41,000 and we know that they get paid weekly, we can divide that by 52, the number of weeks in a year, and get approximately $788.46 as a weekly paycheck. Now let's check your understanding, and Karen found a job with an annual salary of $67.3 thousand. What is her monthly pay rounded to the nearest dollar? Since we know she earned $67,300, then we can divide that by 12 months in a year to get approximately $5,608 every month. Dylan took an applicant-paid job through an employment agency. The job pays $395 per week. Dylan must pay a fee to the employment agency. The fee is 20% of his first 4 weeks' pay. How much money must Dylan pay the agency? So the first thing we need to do is figure out how much Dylan will make in 4 weeks by taking the weekly pay and multiplying that by 4 to get $1,580. Now we know that 20% of that is going to the agency, so we can multiply by 0.2, and that's going to give us $316. So the employment fee is $316. Let's check our understanding of this. The Alpha Recruitment Agency is advertising a high-profile employer-paid job as Vice President of IT Operations. The fee is 25% of the first month's pay. If the job pays X dollars annually, express the agency fee algebraically. Since we know that it pays X dollars annually, we can divide that by 12. This is going to go ahead and give us a monthly number. If we multiply that by 0.25 to find 25%, then we'll be able to find 25% of 1 month's pay. Now let's express classified ad prices as piecewise functions. Ken is a mechanic who owns Ace Auto Repair. He needs a foreign car expert and is placing a 12-line ad on jobsrus.com. The cost of an ad X lines long is given by the following piecewise function. Find the cost of a 12-line ad. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the condition here. 12 lines is certainly greater than 4, so we're going to be using the bottom equation. This means we're going to have 56 plus 6 times 12 minus 4. So C of 12 will be equal to $104. Let's check our understanding of this. A plumber's trade print publication charges $13 for each of the first 4 lines of an ad, and $7.50 for each additional line. Express the cost of an X-line ad, C of X, as a piecewise function. We already know that we're going to start with a C of X. Now, if the first is $13 per line for the first 4 lines, this we need to add the condition when X is less than or equal to 4. But what happens when X is greater than 4? Well, we're going to pay that $13 per line to start with, plus $7.50 for each line over 4. And the condition would be when X is greater than 4. So this way we have our piecewise function. Now, let's extend our understanding a little further. If the publication from example 3, Check Your Understanding, wanted the price of theirs to be a per line charge for the first 4 lines to be K, what would change in the piecewise function? Well, most of it would remain the same, except 13 was the number that was used for dollars, but now we have K times X, and this is when X is greater or less than or equal to 4, but it would be that same K times X plus 7.5 times X minus 4 when X is greater than 4. So the only thing is, instead of 13, we would place a K. An online job search site charges employer fees to post job listings. Their price list is shown in the table. The price per post decreases as the number of postings increase. What is the percentage of savings if an employer decides to post 4 jobs as opposed to 1? So our percent decrease would be equal to the original price minus the discount divided by the original. So in this case, we're going to be looking at 395 minus 350 divided by 395. This is going to give us approximately 11%. So the employer gets to save 11% per posting. Now let's check our understanding. Job Find charges employers X dollars to post job on their website. They offer a 16% discount if 20 or more jobs are posted. If 31 jobs are posted by a specific employer, express the cost of the 31 postings algebraically. So the first thing we need to look at is this 16%. That is a discount. So we would be looking at 100% of the price minus 16% of the price to get 84% of that price would be paid. We can express that as a decimal as 0.84. So 31 postings at 84% of their cost with a cost of X. Now, you could consolidate and simplify this sum by multiplying these two numbers, which would give you 26.04 times X. Jane's Printing Service charges $29.95 to print 200 high-quality business cards. Each additional set of 100 cards costs $14. Express the cost R of X of printing X sets of 100 cards as a piecewise function. The printing service charges for multiples of 100 cards only. If you think of a set of 100 copies, then 200 copies represents 2 sets. So R of X would be equal to $29.95. Since it's this way for the first 2, we're going to say when X is less than or equal to 2. Now, if you wanted to get 150 cards, you're still going to pay for that full 2. Then, if you wanted more than 2 sets, you would pay $29.95 plus $14 for each set X minus the original 2. And this is going to happen whenever X is greater than 2. And now we have our piecewise function. Let's check our understanding of this. An online bargain printing service charges $P for the first 200 business cards and $X for each set of 100 above the first 200. Express the cost of the cards algebraically as a piecewise function. So this starts out seeming a little confusing because it's using $P's and $X's instead of variables like we're used to it. What we're going to do is we're going to simply say N represents our number of 100 cards. This way, the cost of N will be equal to $P when N is less than or equal to 2. It will then be worth $P plus $X times N minus 2 when N is greater than 2. It only looks confusing because it's not using the variables we're used to in algebra normally. So let's extend our understanding. Let's write an algebraic expression for the unit cost of P business cards using each option in example 1, check your understanding. To start with, we would need to grab the piecewise function from that check your understanding. Now, I've removed the dollar signs to make it less confusing to look at. The question becomes, what happens when we have C of P? Well, then we would have P as the answer for the first one. Now, this doesn't seem to make sense because if we were printing, say, 200 cards in this example, we would be looking at P divided by 200 as that number. So the cost would be P divided by 200. So in the second one, we would have P divided by 200 plus X times P divided by 200 minus 2.